What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Seabass with Vlogify here, and today I'm going to be walking you guys through a basic photo edit in Lightroom. Not Photoshop, Lightroom. I'm going to show you how to turn your photos from this into this. Let me say first though that while I've had a little practice, I am nowhere near any sort of like professional or amazing editor in Lightroom, so this should be a good way to get a little insight into an amateur's thought process in Lightroom such as myself. So without further ado, let's jump right in, huh?
Okay, so for starters, we got our picture in here. This picture right here is just something I got from my Georgetown V2 shoot. I decided to snap some pictures, and as you can see, with the day, it was an overcast day, and we got ourselves some cooler tones here. It even decided to leak onto the subject themselves, made the tone, the skin just look really purplish blue, and it's not what I'm trying to go for here. For this, we're going to go for that kind of urban, warmer tone. So for starters, right here, you're going to notice that my profile is Adobe Standard. I typically go for camera neutral or even Adobe neutral, but for this one, I just left it at Adobe Standard. It doesn't change the end result of the photo itself after the edits are done, but too dramatically, honestly. But you know, it's all based off preference. For this one, I'm just gonna go with Adobe Standard because I did like the final result of it. So down here under our light tab, we're not really going to touch our exposure, our contrast right now, or probably at all, really. Before we even touch anything else down here, though, we're going to go into our tone curves. So right off the bat, hopping on our reds. For the red channel, what we're going to do is go right down here to the mid, right in between our mid and our highs. We're going to raise that ever so slightly. That's right there, looks decent. And you're going to notice pink cast, oh no. Don't worry, don't fret. And then for the mids, bring that down right here-ish. Yeah, it looks good. And then right here in between, again, our mids and our shadows. Take that right mid piece, bring that down right around there. And right in between that, bring this down ever so slightly. So yeah, that looks a lot colder than we're going for. Don't worry, bear with me as we move forward. Now we're going to do just about the same thing to our greens, honestly. So again, slight bump up, slight, and then bring on down, and bring on down, and bring on down, and over to the blues. I'm going to take this, bring it on up, bring it on down, and you guessed it, bring it down, and bring it down. So that's what we're left with right now. Let's get out of this little curve chart. Now let's go over here to our light settings. I mean, what we're gonna do here is just mess with our highlights. So the highlights, we're going to bring these down because, I mean, things are blown out all over the place. I'm going to bring this down, not halfway necessarily. We'll go to -44. And you're not going to notice a change just yet, but it'll come up. With our whites, that's going to be about, let's try, nah, it's a little high. Let's do -38. That looks good. A little bit of a darker tone to it. And now we're going to take our shadows, and we're going to take that up, actually. I want to get things a tiny bit brighter, or actually a lot brighter. No, not that much. That looks good to me. That's looking good. See, we can bring out the detail of the jacket and some of those darker areas just to show that detail off. And then with the blacks, raise that, you know, just a bit. Right. Yeah, that's looking good right there. So to give it this, you know, this gunmetal steely tone I'm going for, you know, I really think of a spy movie. You know, when you look at it, when you're going to see the final result, it kind of gives you that feel of a James Bond. You know, that's what this edit's going to kind of be like. So anyway, with that little extra aside, let's go on down here to our colors, and I kind of want to give it a warmer tint. Since this raw photo itself has a colder look to it. So let's get this warmer, bring it on up to about, I'm feeling a little lower than that. That's a little high. I'm liking that. We got that purple cast in the back a bit, but we'll fix everything up. And then from there, we're gonna balance this out a bit. I'm gonna slide our tint just a tiny bit, just to counteract that kind of unnatural, like he looks like he's squeezing tense in his face and he's all red in the face and freaking out. So let's bring this down actually to just about a plus, I'm feeling 10. Feeling a nice even rounded out 10. See, there we go. Now it looks like it's more so a tan look on his face rather than blood rushing to his face and he's about to keel over. Anyway, just before we jump into the more detailed aspects, we're going to desaturate a tiny bit. Let's take this on down to -15. I'm feeling -15. And now the fun part, we get to open up the color mixer. So here we get to separate and just really dial in on those specific colors. This is going to bring out those slight details. You're gonna see minor changes, but it's actually going to impact the overall photo and make it look really, really refined and finished and really make certain areas pop. So since we want that kind of warmer, urban gunmetal feel to it, we're gonna bring up the reds, all aspects of the reds. So I'm thinking for the hue, bring this up to about 15-ish. Yeah, it's looking pretty decent. Take the saturation, bring that up to about 25. Yeah, and we're gonna take the luminance and bring that up to 30. Really dial that up, bolden things up. Again, small details. As you notice with those small details, when I click this on and off, you notice face a little browner. When I undo that, boom, a little more light to it, a little more life to it. So now let's move on over to the oranges. We're gonna do just about the same thing, except we're gonna have a lower hue, just to really balance out what we did with those reds. So I'm gonna lower that hue down to about a -10. Just to really, I don't want to completely remove what I just did, but I kind of want to, balance it out a bit with a little bit of purple to it. So now we're going to dial everything else up though. This is going to go right to plus 20 or so. Again, this is all preference. I'm just feeling that 20. That's calling to me. And then this luminance is going to go to about a plus. Yeah, no, that 9 feels right. And now everything else, these yellows, these greens, just the yellows and greens actually, those really don't play too much of a part, honestly. Everything else, the yellows and the greens look actually really good in this picture at the moment. So what we're gonna do is mess with this cyan, teal. I'm gonna go with cyan. We're just gonna leave that cyan. So with this one, this color is primarily going to liven up that background. So with it, we're going to dial things back though. And when I say liven up, it doesn't necessarily mean make it super bright or super eccentric. It might actually mean darken, just to really make the subject come into focus. So with that, we're taking this hue that's literally probably just a 1, the slightest of differences. But here's where the difference is gonna be made, is our saturation. That's gonna be at a -36. You might notice already things around here starting to pop out, his jacket a little bit. So that's with the cyans, and the blues themselves are really going to make that difference with what we did with the cyans. So the blues, this is going to solidify everything from that. We're going to bring this on down to about -6-ish or so. This one down to -18. These numbers really shouldn't mean anything to you. You should go by the look of the picture itself. But I'm just calling them out as I'm getting there. And this one's gonna be a -14. Now, if you notice, things got a little, a little more darker back here. Really kind of it kind of blends in almost with the subject, kind of giving that just urban, sealy, like it makes it almost seem like there is sunlight. As you can see by the illumination up here, some of the illumination on the cast of the buildings, and on the chair itself, there's a sunlight to it, but the spotlight's on him. And then Now we're gonna move on to just really with the purples. We're just going to, just do with the smaller details. It's gonna mess with right around here and some of the windows right here. Really, we're just gonna mess with the saturation, the luminance, mainly the saturation. Saturation is coming all the way down here. I'm thinking right around there looks good. Then the luminance, the slightest of bumps, slightly. And notice, kind of blends things in here. It may not be the most astronomical difference. It's that tiny details that kind of bug me all the time. And then now we're gonna move on over here to our pinks and violets to really blend in right around here. You're gonna notice right on his facial features where it's a little bit more white up here, and the glasses and the shadows up behind the glasses. So with this, we're just gonna lower our hue by ever so slightly. And then the saturation, again, a little more of a lower grade than the hue was. And the luminance, just a slight bump. Yeah, it looks good. Again, not astronomical, but you'll notice it's not as bright there. It kind of blends in more so with the face. And that's about it for your color wheel. You don't have to do anything really more with that. We're gonna skip over the effects here, and then the sharpen. This is where our final touches are gonna come in. So right here in our details tab, we're gonna bring the sharpen down just about 35, just to soften out those really hard edges of the building, of the bushes, of just those small details that came out really sharp in this one. And really, that's about it. You can honestly feel free to add your own touches in up here in the effects area. I really didn't feel the need to mess with this for this specific picture, just because it already came out pretty well, and no matter what I did with the effects, I couldn't really bring to life the blurriness of this face. That was just the way I focused my camera, and I ended up bringing it right here into focus more so, but I worked with what I got, and as you can see, here's the end result of a pretty basic edit, excluding any sort of Photoshop editing or, anything crazy added onto it or any sort of overlays. This is just a basic edit run through, and here is our final result.
With that, guys, I hope you enjoyed. That is my little edit as an amateur in Lightroom. If you guys learned something, that's awesome. I'm really glad. This really was meant just for a perspective piece into what it is like editing as an amateur. I've been practicing at this for like a month or so it is fairly new to me. I do hope to get better by continually doing more shoots and more edits like this, and as I do get better, I will do more videos like this to update that. But if you did learn anything, that's awesome. I love that. If you didn't and you just thought this was amusing, or this was like a good insight, again, awesome. Drop a like, drop subscribe if you guys enjoyed and you want to keep seeing more of this, and as always, #GetVlogified. Peace.